The 1969 Woodstock Festival has gone on to become a mythological event for future generations. Many have tried to recreate the success of the seminal concert festival, which was immortalized on film in the 1970 documentary Woodstock. In more recent years, many have argued that the idyllic image of the 1969 Woodstock Festival that was perpetuated by the subsequent documentary is false. According to them, the festival was actually a pretty miserable event for the people who were there. Join Facts First as we take a look at everything wrong with the 1969 Woodstock Festival. The 1969 Woodstock Festival has gone down in history for a variety of reasons, though those who were there have since claimed the festival might not have been all it was chalked up to be. While the festival is often thought of as an idyllic free love experience for attendees, many who were there actually claim attending the festival was like being in a nightmare. There were numerous things wrong, with the majority of the festival's flaws coming down to poor planning. Those in charge had no idea how many attendees would come out for the festival, meaning they weren't prepared for the event that ended up unfolding. While the outdoor concert event certainly created memorable footage and launched the careers of some notable musicians, those who were there were likely not having as good of a time as some believe. Many have heard that the festival was free to attend, but that wasn't the intention. In fact, tickets were originally supposed to cost a little over $20 at the door, which isn't that far of a cry from the price of an average festival ticket nowadays once you factor in inflation. Though the event wasn't supposed to be free, those in charge didn't plan on the massive number of attendees that would come looking for tickets. In addition to there simply being too many people looking to get in, matters were made worse when a group of anarchists tore down the festival's barriers, allowing anyone in the area free and easy entry. Despite the organizers' intentions, the Woodstock Festival ended up being completely open to the public. When there was no control over the number of people being let in, it led to other issues. The massive amount of festival attendees quickly consumed all the food and water available, leading to a shortage throughout most of the festival. The organizers had taken the cheap route of hiring some local hippies to cook up hot dogs, and there simply weren't enough to go around. They tried to solve the problem by increasing the prices of the hot dogs, but that did little to satiate the hunger of the crowd. John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival has recalled the distaste he felt when he arrived at the festival and saw attendees were being charged for water, which he thought didn't fit with the supposed free love message of the festival. Water became so sparse that the price for a glass went from being only a couple of cents to a full $1, which was ridiculous given the value of $1 in those days. In addition to food and water shortages, the massive crowds of people who had shown up for the festival also caused traffic jams that made life a living hell for not only the attendees, but also the people who lived in the area. People had been convinced to allow the festival to happen, thinking it might be good for business, but they had no idea how insane things were going to become. Once the festival started, many who lived in the area found they were essentially forced to stay in their houses. There were so many people at the festival, it's been estimated there was only one toilet for every 1,000 festival attendees. Of course, it didn't take long before people started finding other means to relieve themselves, and one can imagine that much of the muddy waters making up the swampy area became infested with a good deal of sewage. This is perhaps part of why the area where the concert festival took place has since been labeled hazardous. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First for more, and stick around for a lot more about what went wrong at Woodstock. It should go without saying there was rampant drug use at the 1969 Woodstock Festival. There were hippies holding signs advertising tablets of acid for $1, and those attending claimed it was nearly impossible to consume any food or water without accidentally getting dosed with the drug. There were reportedly over 700 drug overdoses over the course of the event, though there were thankfully only 2 deaths as a result. Still, the ideal death count for any festival should be 0. In addition to those 2 deaths from drug overdoses, there was also an incident where a sleeping festival attendee was run over by a tractor. The tractor driver was trying to pick up the massive amounts of trash that had been left behind by attendees and had tried his best to clear the area of people. Still, there was apparently one festival attendee left behind. By the time the driver realized, it was too late. While 700 drug overdoses may seem like a ridiculous sum, there were even more foot injuries. There were reported to have been nearly 1,000 foot injuries that had to be treated over the course of the festival due to the fact that its hippie attendees refused to put on shoes. Other notable mishaps include a handful of alleged births, including one that was supposed to have taken place during one of the festival's infamous traffic jams. But no one has ever come forward and claimed the title of being born at Woodstock, so there has yet to be any proof. While there have only been 3 confirmed deaths that occurred as a result of the 1969 Woodstock Festival, there were almost many more. During the festival, an exposed electrical cable had been walked over one time too many by festival attendees. By the time technicians realized what was going on, the wire was so exposed it could have sparked a mass electrocution of the audience. The people running the festival were afraid the crowds would riot if they turned the power off, but thankfully they were able to fix the problem before people died. Still, it was a stroke of luck that kept the death toll from becoming a great deal larger. Despite all the many problems that occurred, one might think it would have been worth it for the musical performances alone. However, not all of them were as great as the iconic few featured in the documentary. For every hit performance, such as the one from Jimi Hendrix, there was a dud, such as the one from the Grateful Dead. Although the Dead was certainly a skilled live band, unfortunate events related to the festival itself made their set a disaster. Similarly, the festival found many other bands out of their element. The Who's Pete Townsend was notoriously incredibly agitated during his time there, and the band was not in the best mood when they finally went on stage at 5 in the morning. While the 1969 Woodstock Festival may not have been all it was cracked up to be, it was nowhere near the disaster that the 1999 Woodstock Festival was. In retrospect, many feel the idyllic and false image of the 1969 festival's success has led others to try to recreate it. The false image perpetuated by the documentary Woodstock glossed over the fact that the festival was only kept from being a monumental disaster by pure luck. When the 1999 festival proved to be an unmitigated disaster, with riots and rampant amounts of sexual assault, people saw this as a sign that the times had changed over the 30 years. However, many others felt the disaster of the 1999 event was more emblematic of the inherent flaw of the festival's concept. As more recent festival disasters, like the Fire Festival and the 2021 Astro World Festival, have further shown, it's important to know what you're doing when it comes to events that feature giant crowds. Another iteration was planned in 2019 for the original festival's 50th anniversary and was to be dubbed Woodstock 50. But the festival was canceled during the planning stages because too many people involved realized it was simply a poor concept. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know that the 1969 Woodstock Festival was a giant mess? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.